All right. You on there? Hello. Hi, Sharma. Hi, Sharma. It starts at 6:30. Hi, Ryan.
Welcome on behalf of everyone at the Daily Journal. Thank you for turning out this evening for this informational and exciting event. My name is Doug Smith. I'm the managing editor of the Daily Journal. I'll be the moderator this evening. More importantly, we're here to hear from the men and women who have offered to give up their time and their talents in this coming years to service in public office. Jack Lew, the former U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, said it like this: I think there's no higher calling in terms of a career than public service, which is a chance to make a difference in people's lives and improve the world. This evening, we'll be hearing from candidates for 15 offices serving St. Francis County residents. Many of those offices also serve surrounding counties as well. We're going to handle some housekeeping things real quick, and then we'll get into the evening. We received a program with a couple exceptions. The incumbent seeking re-election will be first to address when we discuss that particular office. We have two races: the Missouri 116th District House seat and the St. Francis County Clerk's Office do not have incumbents seeking re-election. In both instances, we did a coin toss earlier with the candidates to determine who will speak first. Additionally, there are 6 offices that are unopposed. Those incumbents were also invited to speak this evening just to have a chance to better familiarize you with the person working for you in that office. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to greet you and explain their reason for seeking office in order to try to get everyone out of here at a decent hour and keep things moving. We have a timer, which is Teresa Russell to my right. We'll be keeping time and has a bell and is not afraid to use it. Will sound when the speaker has reached their 3-minute limit. Candidates, please approach the stage as the speaker prior to you is wrapping up and adhere to and respect the time limits. If you want to, you can approach on this side and exit on that side and kind of keep things moving. Like I said, we're going to be kind of rolling fast because we have a lot of people to speak tonight. We prefer to get you out as early as possible. Later in the evening, both candidates for the office of St. Francis County Prosecuting Attorney have agreed to answer several questions submitted both by the Daily Journal editorial department and some of you gathered here this evening. You were asked when you came in if you wanted to submit a question. While we're going through the first half of this event, we have a team of 2 editors and 2 reporters which will be going through those questions, selecting 4 questions that the prosecuting attorney candidates will answer in the second portion of their debate this evening. Also, we did a coin toss. The prosecuting attorney candidates did a coin toss to determine who will answer the first question first, and then we'll alternate from there. And then also who will give opening remarks first, who will give closing remarks first. Each candidate will have the opportunity for a brief opening and closing remark. We ask that the constituents, ask of you, the constituents, if there be no negative comments or booing, but feel free to clap and show your approval for candidates you approve of, because we are blessed to be in a country, to have the freedom to elect those representing us in our leadership, and we shouldn't take that privilege lightly. So feel free to clap, whoop, whatever you want to do. We want to thank the Farmington School District for allowing use of this facility this evening. We also want to say that many of the candidates have campaign brochures or signs available. Some are out here in front, and they, of course, some have them with them in their vehicles. So if you want to pick up a sign or a brochure or whatever afterward, get with that candidate. That said, let's begin hearing from our candidates. We're going to kind of go down the list as it appears on the ballot. First race that we're going to hear from is the Missouri 8th District U.S. Representative race. Jason Smith is the incumbent Republican. He's not available this evening, and so we will be hearing from his district office director, Donna Hickman. Also, before we start, we have microphone issues tonight. There always has to be some technical something with an event. It always happens. In this case, it's a microphone, so we'll be switching microphones back and forth during the debate. But anyhow, welcome, Donna.
Thank you. Microphone issues just keep us humble as we speak. It is great to see this group of engaged voters here tonight. Thank you so much for being here and wanting to know about the candidates and the issues that will be on your ballot on November 6th. I am here tonight to tell you about one of those candidates. Congressman Jason Smith has represented the 30 counties of the 8th Congressional District since June of 2013. He won a special election. He is running for his third full two-year term. Among his priorities then and now are farmers and small business owners. He has worked to reduce federal regulations which stifle their economic success. As a member of the Ways and Means Committee, the tax writing committee in Congress, Congressman Smith helped craft the legislation that resulted in the largest tax cut in America in 30 years. Congressman Smith believes the way to keep the economy moving is to let you keep more of your money to spend and invest as you see fit. In addition, he has been focused on identifying, repealing, and removing unnecessary, outdated, and burdensome federal regulations. As a matter of fact, before President Trump even took office, his team asked Jason for a list of regulations the president could remove that negatively impacts the folks that worked to advance important pro-life amendments and protections and further defended our constitutional rights, including the Second Amendment. He led the fight to overturn a ban passed during the Obama administration on the use of lead for hunting with ammunition on federal land. All of this is helping to right the ship on our economy, which is growing at its fastest pace in years. Wages are up, hiring is up, jobs are up, and retirement accounts are up. And the unemployment rate is down at its lowest point in the last 40 years. But there is much more work to do for welfare programs. He believes such programs should assist people who are able to work to get back to work, not make them forever dependent upon the government. He will work to make permanent the tax cuts passed last December because they are set to expire in a few years. He is in favor of the wall on our southern border because we have a legal immigration process for people to follow. He wants to finish the Farm Bill so farmers can be helped by government programs that build upon their efforts to work their land as they know best. He is working with the President on important initiatives like increasing access to broadband. He brought FCC Chairman Pye to the 8th Congressional District to see the needs of rural America himself. And since that visit, Chairman Pye has announced a $250 million broadband investment in rural Missouri. Please consider giving a vote this November 6th to Congressman Jason Smith. Thank you.
Next, we'll be hearing from Kathy Ellis. Also, if you have a question, if you took a slip earlier to submit a question and you haven't put it in the box, if you would go ahead and do that so We can start reviewing those questions soon.
Good evening. It's wonderful to be here. I have had the distinct pleasure of spending the last year and a half traveling throughout our 30-county district. And I will tell you that it is a wonderful, beautiful district with a lot of problems. And announce my name again, I'm Kathy Ellis, and I'm running for the 8th Congressional District. It's one of those situations where so many people are so disenfranchised in our district. Our hospitals are closing, leaving so many people without medical care. Our schools are falling apart. And we are in a position where it's time to do something. So one of the things that I heard from all of the people that I've spoken with over the many months I've been traveling are three things. They are concerned about good, quality, affordable health care. They are concerned about public schools and making sure that our school system does not become a voucher system, it does not become a charter school, and it does not have any homeschooling that is in the place of good quality public schools. The other thing that's very important to the people of the district that I've spoken with is a robust infrastructure plan. And that's where we need to work across the aisle. That's where we need to make sure that we are giving this community, this wonderful 30-county district, the things that it needs in order to thrive. Now, one of the things that is probably important for you to know about me is that I've never been in politics before, but I believe that public service is one of the highest callings that people can have. I have been a clinical social worker for the past 30 years, as well as an addictions counselor. I have worked in a variety of places, such as juvenile court. I've worked in the Women's Halfway House. I have worked in a hospital, and I've owned my own business. So I understand the pressures of a small business. I would appreciate your vote this year, because I think that it's time to begin to address some of the very difficult and challenging issues that we have. Far too many people are dying in this district unnecessarily. They don't need to. Our farmers are struggling when they have small farms, and we have so much that we can do to help them out. If you look at the suicide rate in our district, it's extremely high. I think that people are afraid, and I want to address that. So thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it, and this is such a wonderful thing to have. It's a wonderful event. Thank you.
And also running for the Missouri 8th District U.S. Representative Office is Jonathan Shell, who's running as a libertarian. I'm not sure, I don't believe Jonathan is here this evening. We had a clipboard that we kind of had people checking in as they came in, and it's my understanding he's not here. Okay. We'll move on. Missouri 116th District Representative. Incumbent Kevin Eagler has reached his term limit, and so he will be leaving. There will be no incumbent seeking re-election in that office. The coin toss was done earlier, and Democrat candidate Bill Kramer will be the first to speak this evening. Yeah. Yes. The coin toss was done, the decision was made. Sorry about that. Dale Wright, Republican candidate.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity of being here. Thanks to all of you for being here. Thanks to the Daily Journal for hosting us tonight. You know, my overriding qualifications for this office is that I have the same hairstyle as Kevin England. I think they're going to feel real at home with me up in Jefferson City. But I've been a lifelong resident of Farmington. I've been here my whole life, went through the Farmington school system. Got a degree in business management, worked full-time, and went to school full-time. And worked in Mineral Area Hospital in their administration. Went on to Phelps County Hospital in Rolla, Missouri, where again I worked in administration there. Had the opportunity of working for a corporation in Chicago selling medical supplies and equipment, and gave me an opportunity to move back to Farmington. So I did that for several years. My very first year, out of 2,000 salespeople, I came in third from last. And I thought, you know, I will never do that again. I will never be last at anything. And I made that commitment, and I've been pretty successful in what I've achieved over the years. Been blessed to have some successes. You know, growing up, it was very meager. I grew up in a humble home. But as I got back and moved into the Farmington area again, had successes in hospital administration. I was able to sell the products, as I said. Then with Terry Braxton and myself, we acquired a company called NIMED, and we grew the company from about $6 million up to $25 million, and we sold the company. I was recruited by a corporation out of Chicago, and I was recruited as the president of one of their divisions and one of their subsidiaries. We ran that. We were able to grow the business from $4 million up to $300 million. We had a great team. And then I was promoted to COO of the company, Chief Contracting Officer, which is essentially the COO of the company. And when I left, our company was doing just under $8 billion in sales volume. I spent a lot of my time volunteering for organizations, whether it's the Big Brothers organization, the PTA, Boy Scouts, most recently the MCII, the Farmington Police Board. I served on the City Council in Farmington, and then also I've worked on the College Foundation Board at Mineral Area College. If I have the opportunity of going to Jeff City, I will represent all of you. I have been endorsed by the Missouri Right to Life, the NRA, the electricians, the carpenters, the Missouri Hospital Association, the nurses, nurse anesthetist physicians, and I want you to know that I'm eager to serve all of you, take your ideas to Jefferson City, and thank you for this opportunity of being here tonight. Thank you.
All right, now we'll go to from Bill Frank.
That's all good. My name is Bill Bramer. I'm running for 116th House District with Mr. Wright. Growing up in this area, I'm not a lifelong resident. I'm originally from St. Louis. And when I graduated from high school, I put my diploma in the back of my car, drove to St. Genevieve, and that's where I decided that I was going to make my home and raise my family. I really like the area. I've always liked St. Genevieve, St. Francis County area. It's got a lot to offer. Perry County, I'm a regular down there. I'm in the lakes down there all the time. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I'm running on the Democratic ticket, and I think to some people that means something. I think it's something different now than what it used to be. I want everybody to know I am a pro-life candidate. I'm a pro-gun candidate. I love shooting guns. As a matter of fact, I was telling myself after this is all over, I'm going to take my tent, my water purifier, and a rifle, and I'm heading out to the woods to do about 3 days worth of camping and get all this out of my system. Right now, I am a working man. I work 9 hours a day, 6 days a week at Tar Rock Stone in St. Genevieve. I'm a union miner. I've been a union miner for 25 years. Before that, I was a deputy sheriff for 10 years and have enjoyed every minute of my life. I've there's been some struggles. I mean, my wife and I, we started off with pretty much nothing. And we've made ourselves a fairly comfortable lifestyle. We don't live extravagantly, we live comfortably. We live in the same house that we raised our children in, and you know, it suits us just fine. I still do a little bit of my shopping, as a matter of fact, at Goodwill. I try and the reason I tell you that is I want everybody to know that I relate to a lot of people within this district. You know, I have to operate under a budget because I am still a working man. I'm not retired yet. I'm close. But the rights of the Second Amendment, pro-life, pro-labor, all mean something to me. And I did make one promise along the way, and that was during our Prop A campaign that we had, that we just blew out of the water. We fought Prop A. People in St. Genevieve and Farmington, well, people in Missouri, just overwhelmingly fought that. And in St. Genevieve, we were the #1 county per capita to vote that down. And I wanted to thank Kevin Engler sitting over here. Kevin Engler came over and he actually stood with us during one of our Right to Work rallies. And I really appreciate that. That means a lot. I guess that means my time to die up. Anyway, my name is Bill Kramer. I'm running for 116th District, and I would appreciate your vote on November the 6th. Thank you very much.
Missouri 115th District Representative Elaine Gannon is running unopposed. She was invited, as I said, those running unopposed were invited to come along to address the crowd as well. Elaine Gannon.
Well, good evening, and thank you for inviting us to be here this evening. I'm Elaine Freeman Gannon, and I represent District 115, which includes the northern part of St. Francis County, the southern part of Jefferson County, and a small section of St. Genevieve County called Kenzie. And I have one of the most rural districts in the state of Missouri. I was born and raised the youngest of 11 children in Bismarck. I graduated from high school in 1971, college in 75, and I taught school for a coach for 32 years at DeSoto. I'm married to Dennis Gannon, who is running for Jefferson County Executive. We have 2 sons, 1 daughter-in-law, and a granddog. I'm pro-life, I'm pro-Second Amendment. I'm running unopposed, as he mentioned earlier, for my 4th and final term due to term limits. My name will be on the ballot, so please, if you live in my district, check my box. As a retired teacher, my main focus in Jefferson City continues to be education. I do not support charter schools, and I do not support vouchers. I worked hard to defeat Constitutional Amendment 3 a few years ago, which was to eliminate teacher tenure. I support our Missouri Public School teachers' retirement system. This seems to be the #1 concern of retired teachers. And so I always tell them that I will always support protecting teacher retirement. If you live in my district, and if I can be of any help, please feel free to contact me. If you're in Jefferson City, please stop by my office. I'm on the 3rd floor. And so again, thank you for inviting me to be here this evening.
Next, we're going to be hearing from the candidates of the Missouri 117th District. We're briefly going to try. We've had a podium wardrobe malfunction. So, see if we can get that corrected. If not, we'll take both of them down so it's not a distraction. Anyhow, in the Missouri 117th District, Mike Henderson is the incumbent. And so he's being opposed by Kayla Chick. But we asked Mike Henderson to please address us. soon as they get here. There we go. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mike Henderson. I just finished my first term as a 117th state representative and thoroughly enjoyed it. Really enjoyed being up there. Don't enjoy every day, but it's a lot of fun going up there and trying to represent everybody. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm married, Sherry Shelton Henderson. I have 2 grown children, 1 grandson, Charlie. They're not here tonight because there's a fall festival at his elementary school tonight, and that's way more important than me being here. And I found that out quickly. A little bit more about me. I spent 31 years in education. I was a teacher, coach, and then administrator for 23 years. Retired from there in 2014. My wife and I were pretty happy. We were traveling a little bit, and then I got into this. And I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I made the decision to come out of retirement and to do this. Let me tell you a little bit of what I stand for. I am pro-Second Amendment. And have been endorsed by the NRA. I'm pro-life and been endorsed by the Missouri Right to Life. I am pro-education, have been endorsed by all 4 of the major educational organizations. I'm pro-business. I think we have to have more jobs. We have to have more well-paying jobs come to our area. We have to support both small and large business. And as a result, I've been endorsed by the Chamber of Commerce. Some of the endorsements would be the IBEW, the Carpenters, the Fraternal Order of Police, and the firefighters, and there's many more, but the only reason I mention the endorsements is this reason. Those endorsements, I think, mean a little bit more after you've been up there and served in office for this reason. They base their endorsements on legislation you file and the vote you've taken. So what that means is they endorse you based on that you have shown you stand for what you said you stood for. And those are some of the things that I think I stand for. Another area I'm trying to get into is health care. I filed an emergency room bill this year that was I wanted to try to help everybody with some of the costs dealing with emergency rooms. I served on the Missouri Health Cohort this summer. I was appointed by the Speaker of the House to do that. It was legislators from all across the state coming together trying to look at what can the state do to help control health care costs. Looking at the price of drugs, drug transparency costs, and looking at why rural hospitals are closing and what can we do. And I will promise you I will continue to look at some of those areas. We need to look at some of the Aerovac and why is it so expensive and why are they are not in insurance plans. And so we'll continue to do that. So once again, those are a few of the things I stand for. I want to thank the Daily Journal for allowing us to come up here and do this. And on November 6th, I would ask for your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Henderson is being opposed by Kayla Chick, the Democrat representative. I believe she's not here. I haven't seen her. All right, we'll move on. Missouri 24th Judicial Circuit, Division 1 Judge, incumbent Sandy Martinez. After we hear from the candidates of this race, we'll be switching gears and moving on to the first half of the prosecuting attorney debate.
If you ask the bailiffs, they always know it's me by my walk. Hi, I'm Sandy Martinez, and I have served as your circuit judge for almost 18 years. I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas, and I've lived in Missouri almost as long as I've lived in Texas. My mom and dad were both born in Texas as well. I started out as a public defender. When I first came here, I came as a single parent with a 7-year-old. And I can't tell you how hard that was initially to think that I was going across 18-hour drive to come to Missouri. I ended up here because it was where I was offered the best scholarship. I worked as a cashier for many years to put myself through school, and it was through the cashier job and scholarship that I was able to go to law school. I remember that drive coming from Texas to Missouri, and I was a single parent with a 7-year-old son. And so the fact that I'm here is really a big deal. I started out as a public defender. I did that for a year. And then I was hired as the first female assistant prosecutor in St. Francis County, which I was very proud of. When Judge Murphy decided to retire, before that I ran for prosecutor, and I was elected as the first female prosecuting attorney in St. Francis County. I can't tell you how proud I was to be elected to that position. I served in that position for several years. Then Judge Murphy retired, and I was encouraged to run for judge. I can't tell you how scary that was because I thought, wow, me as a judge. I came from humble beginnings. My dad was in law enforcement, and don't take me wrong, I came from the most amazing parents I could have asked for. My mom worked very hard at home raising children, and my dad worked in law enforcement. And my dad was so proud of me. I tell the story over and over because it really is a story that tells you a lot about my family. My dad was so proud of me. My dad passed away several years ago, and I lost him to leukemia. My dad was probably one of my best cheerleaders and best friends. He really believed in me. And I tell the story because when I told him when I ran for prosecutor the first time, I said, guess what, Dad? I think I'm going to get involved in politics. We weren't a political family. And he looked at me and he said, you know what? I think you'll do well. You can talk to head of lettuce. And so he thought that just because I could chat with anybody, I'd do well in politics. When my dad passed away, I was at his funeral, and a lot of the law enforcement officers came up to me, and they opened their wallet, and they were pulling out these cards that I had printed out when I was running for prosecutor. It said, elect Sandy Martinez for prosecutor. And my dad was passing out those cards to all his friends in Texas. So that's how proud he was of me. I tell the kids, I started a program several years ago, and it's called the ACES program. It's probably one of the best things that I've done as a judge. I could stand up here all day and tell you, oh, I work very hard, I do all this, which is true, I do. I work very hard, and you can look at the numbers and see how hard and how devoted I am. I love my job, I worked very hard, and I'm asking for your vote on November the 6th. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Martinez is being challenged by Geraldine Ford II.
My name is Geraldine Ford II. This November, I'm asking you to vote for judge. Let me first start by thanking each and every one of you for being here tonight. I'd also like to thank all the lawyers, the judges, the church leaders, the child welfare advocates, the mayor of St. Genevieve, and everyone else who has supported my candidacy. I'd also like to thank my opponent, the Honorable Judge Sandra Martinez. During this campaign, I've had over 50 speaking engagements. I even got to speak in front of our governor. I wish I could say that this is my last, but I still have more. People have asked me why I decided to run for a local court. I mean, I loved my job. I have a nice house, a cool car. So who convinced me to run? The lifelong Democrat that convinced this Republican to run was my mom. You see, when she was on her deathbed, one of the things that she wanted to know was if I was actually going to run for anything. After my analysis, I came to the determination that Division 1 was where I could do the most good. She really liked that idea, and when she died, I felt I had absolutely no choice but to give it my all. I believe that I have the intellect, as I've exampled as my experience as a corporate attorney. I believe that I have the work ethic, as I've proven throughout my entire life as an Eagle Scout. Finally, and most importantly, I believe that I have the compassion, decisiveness, open-mindedness, sensitivity, courtesy, patience, freedom from bias, and commitment to equal justice. In other words, the proper judicial temperament as defined by the ADA. I am just the son of a mechanic, the grandson of a pastor, the great-grandson of a Missouri farmer. In fact, my family has been in the great state of Missouri for over 170 years. So for me to even be considered for this position is a great honor. I am running to promote a fair, independent, and impartial judiciary to ensure that everyone is treated fairly and equally before the law as defined by our Constitution. Justice is blind to everyone, regardless of if they are rich or poor, black or white, Republican or Democrat, is entitled to equal protection under the law. My name, again, is Gerald D. Ford II. I am running for 24th Circuit Court Judge, Division 1, and I ask for your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll have the first portion of the prosecuting attorney candidate debate. Incumbent St. Francis County Prosecuting Attorney Jared Huron is being opposed by Attorney Melissa Gillum. Each has graciously agreed to join us this evening and answer some questions, some tough questions in some cases, concerning their reasons for wanting to serve in that capacity. The first 5 questions were posed by our editorial department. Each of you here were given the opportunity to submit a question. When you came in this evening, a team of 2 editors and 2 reporters have gone through those questions and selected 4, which I have here, which will be asking during the second portion of the evening's debate. Again, the coin toss earlier this evening determined who would give the opening remarks. Ms. Gilliam won that coin toss and chose to have Mr. Mahurin give the opening statement, and she will give the closing statement first. And also, we did the coin toss to see who answered the first question first, and Mr. Mahurin will answer the first question first. So, anyhow, if we would, for the opening statement, Mr. Mahurin.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jared Mahurin. I'm running for re-election as prosecuting attorney. Usually when I'm addressing a crowd of this size, I'm asking for a guilty verdict, so bear with me if I get a little bit off topic on that. You know, whenever I decided to run for re-election, one of the things that a lot of people ask me is, you know, what kind of campaign are you going to run? Are you going to run a smear campaign? Are you going to throw mud? Are you going to try to be nasty? I said, no, my parents raised me differently than that. I think what people want to hear is the qualifications of the candidate. What have you done? How have you been in office? How have you treated people? So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to tell you what I've done. Been in the office for over 10 years. Grew up in the area, lived here my whole life. Grew up in a labor family. I've been married to my wife Laura for over 15 years. I have a son that's 12. He's a 7th grader right now at Farmington Middle School. Whenever I graduated from North County High School in 1997, went to 1 year at East Central Junior College on a baseball scholarship, transferred to William Penn, where I majored in history and government and minored in psychology. Graduated from there, went to law school in Oklahoma City. When I came back, I opened my own office, hung out my own shingle, and kind of dabbled in every type of law that they have. I wanted to make sure what it was that really drove me to be passionate about the practice of law. I always knew I wanted to help people, which was the main reason that I became a lawyer. Whenever I took a position as an assistant prosecutor, again, it was because I knew I wanted to help people. I had consistently done that for over 10 years. It was about 3.5 years as an assistant, and then in 2012, when Judge Horn was appointed from Governor Nixon, he then turned around and appointed me to be the prosecutor in January of 2012. I have been your prosecutor since then. I was elected in 2014, so in January we'll be just right at 7 years as being the prosecutor. I want to tell you just a little bit about what I've done in office. A lot of times, you know, you want to say, well, the prosecutor's done this and done that. I can tell you that my trial conviction rate, and by that I'm not talking about plea bargains, I'm not talking about cases that get worked out between the attorneys and the parties. I'm talking about when I go to trial, I have a 97% plus conviction rate. Why do I tell you that? It's not bragging. I tell you that to judge me as what I can do in the courtroom. I'm an excellent trial attorney. I appear in front of all of the judges. I've tried cases in front of all of them. The reason I tell you that is because there's only a few metrics by which you can measure a prosecutor. One of those, obviously, is the conviction rate that you possess. You have to know when you go into a courtroom that you have the skills to be able to present the evidence, convince a jury of what you're telling them, and obviously you have to believe in your victims. I do that consistently. I also want to tell you that the most important thing that a prosecutor can do, and one thing that I have prided myself on as a prosecutor, is trying to work and listen to victims. There's nothing more important in anything you do than helping victims. I'm asking for your vote this November to continue to help victims. Thank you.
And now for the opening statement, Ms. Gilliam.
Everybody for coming. Thank you to those at home. Thank you to the Daily Journal staff for setting this up for us. So again, my name is Melissa Gilliam and I'm running for St. Francis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. This month marks my 20th year of being an attorney. I graduated and passed the bar in Colorado in 1998. I'm from here. We moved here in the 6th grade. I graduated from Farmington High School in 1991. While there, I met my husband. We didn't get married right away, but we met there and dated for a little while, Daniel Kellogg. And my mom and dad are here tonight. They're married in Von Gilliam. I'm sure whatever house you live in, she's probably either sold it to somebody, or I guess somebody's bought it with her. So, and my dad is here as well, Von Gilliam. My in-laws are Jim and Peggy Kellogg. Jim was in probation and parole for many years. And so, after I graduated from high school in 1991, I moved on to Mizzou. I graduated there in 95. I moved on even farther west to law school at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Graduated there in 98. And as I said, I started in Colorado. I started at the Colorado Springs District Attorney's Office in 1998. Worked there for 2 years. And when I moved back here to St. Louis in 2000. I had the distinct honor and pleasure to start working on January 2nd, 2001 with Jennifer Joyce when she was sworn in as the circuit attorney of the city of St. Louis. She gave me the honor and opportunity to work with her. I worked there until August of 2016. During that time, I worked my way up through the ranks. I started with drug cases, gun cases, property crimes, into violent crimes, which involved kidnappings, assaults, robberies, murders. And as you guys probably know, there's no shortage of that in St. Louis City. In 2014, my husband and I had my son Aiden, who's 4 now, and we came back to live in St. Francis County and in Farmington. So I continued to drive for about 2 years up to downtown St. Louis. And after that drive got really old, I decided to come back, and I worked for a firm here in town for a little while, and then I started my own practice last year in 2017. So that is the extent of everything that I've done. During the time that I was in the St. Louis Prosecuting Attorney's Office, I received several awards. I received the Justice Award 5 different times. I received the top award given to attorneys, which was the Excellence in Prosecution on 2 different years, in 2008 and 2012. I was honored and asked to be an adjunct. Thank you.
Thank you. And each candidate will have a chance to do a closing remark after the questions. We'll start with the first question, and Mr. McGurran will be answering the first question first. We'll give him a moment to get back up to the podium. All right, each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer each question. We'll alternate back and forth. The first question is a 2-part question. Since we began to transition to a first-class county some 6 years ago, what changes need to be made to the way the prosecutor's office operates, or the role the prosecutor plays in providing legal counsel to the commission? And the second part of that is, some first-class counties have a separate attorney to serve as legal counsel. Do you believe St. Francis County should move in that direction?
Thank you for the question. Well, let me talk just a little bit about when we became a first-class county. Obviously, that's a sign that we're growing as a county, and we are moving forward with a lot of development. The thing is, with prosecutors, a lot of things don't really change. It's not like we have a different set of laws for first-class counties or second-class counties or all the way down. So the way prosecutors move forward with cases doesn't change whether you're in any of those types of classic counties. With regards to the advice and counsel that I give to the commission on a regular basis, anytime they call, I try to call them back and find out what issues they're dealing with. The good thing about me being in office is that I actually had a private practice. I did a lot of these different things, the civil law, different types of lawsuits. I didn't just focus on criminal law my entire career, even though that's where I've been for the last 10 plus. So whenever they have a question about civil law, I'm able to answer it. I don't have to use assistance or go outside the box to be able to help them. So that's one of the things that I bring to the table. Second thing, with regards to using an outside attorney, St. Francis County does use an outside attorney occasionally. Obviously, there's a substantial amount of work for a county our size. I think we have roughly 70,000 people in the county. Using the prosecutor as the county attorney is helpful for a lot of reasons. One, it saves the taxpayers a lot of money. I recently saved the taxpayers about $50,000 for an audit that has to be conducted. The thing is, if we continually go outside and expand, we're going to continue to have to tax the taxpayers, and they're going to have to continue to use this money to be able to fund these different projects. Having a prosecutor that can answer these legal questions, along with the assistance that we already have, will be helpful. But hiring an outside attorney means we're going to have to bid against it. We're going to have somebody come in, and as I'm sure anybody knows who's ever dealt with an attorney, it's not cheap. And especially these attorneys that deal with the countywide problems that a county of our size will face. So, yes, I certainly think that assistance that we use now is beneficial, but I think hiring an outside attorney to do the job, especially of a qualified prosecutor to handle these types of cases and questions that come in, would be redundant and a waste of the taxpayers' resources. Thank you.
So now that we're a first-class county, I think we need to move into the future. I mean, technology is here, and we need to be utilizing it. I have a lot of ideas for change for the office. We need to enhance communication with the public, and that will include using social media, online training seminars, getting information out to the public about what exactly the criminal justice system involves. Because a lot of people who are not in it, they do not understand it, and that makes sense because unless you're there every day seeing the ins and outs, it's hard to understand. So I am going to make every effort to move this county forward and get that information out to the citizens. In addition, I would like to focus on increasing communication between the Office of the Prosecuting Attorney and the police departments. As of right now, I've talked to a lot of the police officers, and the main problem they've indicated is that they often are not able to talk to a prosecuting attorney. Well, I would like to change that. I would like to designate a prosecuting attorney to be a liaison for each one of the police departments so that when they have a question, they know who to contact. I intend to utilize intelligence-driven prosecution, where we compile statistics and data, and we go apply those to prosecute from there, so that we know exactly what problems are facing our county. So once we have that information compiled and in hand, we know where to focus, what areas to look at, and what we can do in order to make a change and make the county safer. Now, as far as legal counsel for the commissioners, obviously they do have it, as Mr. Mahiran said. The Missouri Association of Counties they offer a program that's called a prepaid legal services. And Travis Elliott is the attorney, and I'm sure anyone that's been attended a meeting has heard them refer to Mr. Elliott. The prepaid monthly amount is a 6-hour consultation per month. Obviously, the county is currently engaged in having them represent them. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have your prosecutors solely focused on the task of crime prevention. And I'm not against, obviously, giving advice to the commissioners when necessary and on a short-term basis, but we all want our prosecutor to be focused on the future and the safety of this county. So I think that the commissioners would agree that they can either continue to use the prepaid monthly through that legal services, and it seems to be working out well, or if they even wanted to, they could get an independent contracting attorney under our statute 56.660. That's an option for them to do as well. So while I'm happy to help out the county, I also think the prosecutor should focus on the law enforcement aspects and safety of this county.
Thank you. Question number 2. It said it costs an average of $22,000 to house a prisoner per year in the Missouri Department of Corrections facility. Should we look at expanding the existing drug court program to move more offenders toward that form of consequences as opposed to the corrections system?
Definitely. Chief Justice of the Missouri Supreme Court, Zell Fisher, he made remarks back in January of this year where he called for expanding drug treatment courts in the entire state of Missouri. During his remarks, he noted that it's more cost efficient than any other criminal justice strategy, that every Missourian in need should have a treatment court program within reach, and that we should create evidence-based strategies to reduce recidivism and enhance public safety for all of Missourians. Now, these are the statistics. St. Francis County consists of 54.7% of the population of the circuit, but yet only 15 out of 44 participants in the the circuit's drug court program in 2017 came from St. Francis County. So even though our population is 54.7%, only 34% of drug court participants were from St. Francis County. Washington County actually had the highest amount of drug participants, and even though their population is only 20.54%, they had 43.8% of the participants of drug court. I talked to Commissioner Roop, and I believe at this point in time he indicated there was between 9 or 10 people in the drug court program. St. Francis County has allowed 25 people in that program. 25 people could be accessing that program right now if we got them in there, got them screened, and had them evaluated. Right now, the Missouri Department of Corrections is the #1 mental health facility. Why do I say that? Because so many people suffering from mental health issues, including drug addiction, are incarcerated there. As they stated, it costs $22,000 to $23,000 to house an inmate for 1 year. The cost for drug court is $7,000. 7 out of 10 inmates return to prison. Only 3 out of 10 who went to drug court end up in prison. In 2015, there were 95 cases of defendants charged with possession of a controlled substance. That number rose to 218. Drug distribution rose from 29 to 48 in 2016. That's doubled. Drug court strategies outperform any other thing related to drug treatment. And the prosecutor is the gatekeeper. The prosecutor gets to make the decision to screen the participants. They use a program called the RAMP. It's, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's a triage system where they evaluate it and they take the people with the highest risk and the highest need into the program. And they're asking for those people to be evaluated more often and sent over to them. And so I definitely think the drug court should be utilized.
Thank you. I guess this is maybe a part where my opponent and I start to disagree. I certainly agree with her that the drug court should be utilized, and it is utilized. What I think may be glossed over a lot of times is that a drug court is not utilized to escape the difficulties of prosecution. It is not used to make sure that somebody gets a sweetheart deal. It's not used to make sure that it's an easy way to resolve a case. What it is used and what it should be used for and what I use it for is to make sure, especially young people that come before the system that are just starting their lives out as adults, get a chance. First, you have to make sure these people are needing of the program and deserving of the program. It's not just something that you can say, I'm going to put this 50-year-old defendant who has 15 convictions in drug court. That person may be a different kind of scenario that we have to look at. Drug court is designed to help people that have a need and that deserve it. What people don't often know is that if you complete the drug court program, you get to withdraw your plea of guilty. And you start basically as you have no convictions on your record as long as you go through the program successfully. What I fear by overusing the drug court program is that we're going to fall into a scenario sort of like St. Louis, where consequences are not often followed and cases are slip through the cracks, and we fall into a program where, well, again, St. Louis has the highest crime rate in the nation because there is a lack of seriousness of these consequences for prosecution on these cases. So drug court is used. It's used successfully, but it's used for the people appropriately. Again, I don't look at people that are distributing controlled substances for drug court, mainly because they're preying on the people that have addictions. I look for the people that have addictions. The other thing that's kind of glossed over here is that people have to want to attend this program. Yes, it is true that the prosecutor makes the decision to have these people screened. I offer drug court a lot of times to people that I think can benefit from it. I offer to especially to young people. And whenever they go through the hoops and they see what's available to them, you would be surprised at how often they say, I would rather just go to probation. Drug court's too hard. You can't force somebody to fight their addiction. They have to want to be helped first, and they have to want to fight their addiction first. So yes, drug court is successful, but at the same time, we can't use drug court as a crutch. And while it does cost an amount of money, I think $22,000 is what the figure is to house somebody in the Department of Corrections. We look at California at $75,000. Missouri's getting bang for their buck on that. Some people, unfortunately, have to go to prison because of the crimes they commit. They're repeat offenders. They commit violent crimes. Unfortunately, there are statutes that prevent people with violent crimes from attending these type of programs. So, no, I'm not going to look at expanding a program right now because it is very successful. We have a very high passage rate through our drug court program. I look at it on every case that comes through, but there are certain cases that just don't qualify. So, yes, I look at probation, I look at drug court, I look at a lot of possibilities. Thank you.
Also, if either of you need water, we have some water available. Question number 3. The state's court system has a regional veterans court program in place which would operate similar to the current drug court program, but in this case allowing for alternative consequences for veterans facing legal issues and keeping the cost and burden of those consequences out of the correction system. Do you see a benefit in utilizing the veterans court program moving forward?
I absolutely see a benefit in this, and I would like to tell everybody that I have been working for months with Commissioner Roop to try to get a veterans court system here locally. One of the things that was mentioned right there is that we have a regional veterans court. I believe we actually have 2 that would service the system. The problem that we have with that is that if we have veterans that come before us, and first let me say, if there are any veterans here tonight, I appreciate your service, and you are deserving of a round of applause, so thank you for that. With regards to that, thank you. Thank you for your service. With regards to a regional system, the reason that doesn't work is for a couple different reasons. The people that come before St. Francis County that are having these problems, we need to treat the issues here. They're St. Francis County citizens. They deserve to be treated in their home. They deserve to be treated in their local court systems. The Butler County office that's being referred to is 89 miles from the Farmington Courthouse. I have looked at that program before. That's kind of the system that I tried to bring in with Commissioner Root. But can you imagine me saying to a veteran, what I want to do is help you. I want to help you with whatever you're suffering from, whether it be PTSD, whether it be your Veterans Affairs benefits, whether it be whatever their issue is, if they're suffering from some addiction. Now, I'm going to make you drive 90 miles each way to seek that help. No, I don't want to do that. I want to bring that program here, which is why I've been working so diligently to do so. That needs to be here to help the men and women who have helped us. They have given the ultimate sacrifice. They have bled for their country. Some people have died for their country. And that's one of the reasons that we have to reach out and help them to go through whatever issues they're going through, to be successful in life, and to give back to them. So, yes, the Veterans Court needs to be used. But it needs to be created and funded locally, which is what I'm trying to do, and I hope to continue to do that for the next 4 years.
This is a map of the Missouri Veterans Treatment Courts. And the blue down here in the corner is what services St. Francis County. So as you can see, the Southeast Missouri Veterans Court services all of these counties. And you can also see that there aren't very many Veterans Court available here in Missouri. But we are lucky enough to be able to benefit from this down here in the blue. What I'm also holding up here is this is the Veterans Court Handbook. It's 9 pages, and I'll tell you what, if you go through this, it's not easy. These veterans who would be availing themselves of this program, there's 5 phases, a minimum of 190 days, 120 days. The first phase is 6 weeks. So this is not an easy program to go through, but it's so important that the veterans of this county be allowed to avail themselves of this treatment program. And right now, that's currently not being offered to them. I spoke to the person who, he's the social outreach coordinator, the social worker for the Veterans Court down in Butler County, and he indicated of all the years since 2011 when it was created, that only 2 people from this county have been referred down there. Now, I agree, it's a long way to drive, but there are people who are willing to do it. And they only have to do it for the first phase of the program, or the first couple phases, depending on how bad their addiction is. Because they have set up treatment here locally in St. Francis County that once they've made it through the beginning phases and shown that they are able to beat this, they can avail themselves of treatment here locally with treatment providers here. So So I do think it's important that we avail ourselves of that, because until we do so, we can't convince them to give us the money to start a veterans court here. I talked to Commissioner Roop, and he indicated that it would take $30,000 in order to add a veterans track here. He's absolutely 100% willing to do it, but in order to get that grant money, we have to show that we are willing, able, and going to put people in the program. And until we do it, we can't avail ourselves of that extra money in order to allow this to happen. So I think it's a great idea. It's not, like I said, it's not easy. It's 18 months long. They have to pay $900 during the program, and $50 a month. And there's the 5 phases. But each veteran has a team, and they have the staff from the John J. Pershing VA Medical Treatment Center. They're assigned a probation and parole officer. They're assigned a mentor, and they're assigned a veterans court tracker. And all of those individuals are there to help them and assist them through the program. Now, I asked, what happens if they don't complete the program and their case has been sent down to Butler County? Well, they indicated they'll happily send it back up here in order for the case to be disposed of like normal. So I do think veterans court is a good idea, and I think we should avail ourselves of it.
Thank you. This next question is a little bit more of a personal nature. While you're entrusted to enforce the current laws of the state, the question of whether marijuana possession should be legal in Missouri seems to be a hot-button issue with both strong opponents and proponents locally. Where do you stand personally on the legalization of marijuana?
Well, where I stand personally is that personally, my opinion doesn't matter, because the law is the law, and what I would be elected to do is to enforce the law. And right now, it's illegal to possess marijuana in this state. So, now, on November 6th, the voters will have an opportunity to speak on the law as to medicinal purposes, okay? So the voters will get a chance to decide if they want to legalize marijuana for the purposes of medical treatment. After that, I think we look at, that could cut down on charges against individuals who are possessing marijuana for those medical reasons. I think after that happens, we need to take it one step at a time before we make any determinations regarding decriminalization or legalization of marijuana. Let's see how it goes first with the medical exceptions, and then we look at the statistics and how it affects how it's working now, what changes need to be made, and go from there.
I don't know that I can really agree more with what you said. Obviously, prosecutors' opinions do not matter in this area. We are not legislators. We do not make the law. We enforce the law. As a prosecutor, that's a slippery slope to go down if you ever start trying to inject your own opinions into a personal matter with regards to legalization or any law, because the prosecutor may say, well, I think marijuana should be legal, so I'm not going to prosecute it. The next step is, well, I don't think DWI should be illegal, so I'm not going to prosecute it. You understand where I'm going with that? You have to take each case and you have to prosecute it fairly and evenly across the board. Our job is to enforce the law. And that's what it is. It's not to interpret, it's not to make law. It's just to enforce the law. Yes, I certainly see states around the country that have started with the legalization of medicinal marijuana. It seems to certainly have its applications. I think there are things that are beneficial by it. A lot of people are treated with seizure disorders from some of these things, the CBD oil, and some of the other products that are out there. But again, let me say this about marijuana. I do equate it to alcohol a lot of times. I think it's something that it's not a dangerous drug, but at the same time, it does lead to dangerous drugs. And I know it's an old kind of catchphrase that it's a gateway drug, but it's true. Nobody starts out with heroin. Nobody starts out with cocaine. People start with kind of the base drugs and move up. So, obviously, looking at the industry, seeing that there is a chance for growth there, for obviously working through the financial part of it, it's very hard to police that and to make sure that it's done properly. So, again, I would echo what my opponent says, that our opinion really doesn't matter on this issue as long as we enforce the law evenly, and that's what I intend to do for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. The fifth and final question in this first portion of the debate is dealing more with the office than legislation. Given the polarizing climate of this election cycle, how will you work to reduce tension within the community and among your staff after the election?
Thank you. Well, like I said at the beginning whenever I opened, this election cycle, I think, in my opinion, has been a lot less about the candidates' qualifications as to the nasty things that have been said, certainly about me throughout this process. Let me say this, and I mean this sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Regardless of whether you are for me tonight, whether you're against me, if I am successful in this election, I will serve you as best I can in every single case. That's what you deserve as citizens of St. Francis County. So put your minds at ease that that's not something you have to worry about with me in office. I take every case seriously, I take every case professionally, and that's what I intend to do. I ran my campaign the same way. I want to show people what I am capable of, the way I handle myself. With regards to any kind of tension in the community, obviously politics it ignites a lot of fires for people, and it certainly makes people that are best friends for 3.5 years fight for a few months. So I think the community will heal, and I want to continue to be there to make sure that they heal. I will always be available to help in any capacity that I can. I routinely give out my business cards, even if I'm not in the office. If there's anything I can do for you from the prosecutor's office, if there's anything I can do for you personally, I want you to know that regardless of whether you support me or not, understand that I will be there for you. I will continue to work. With regards to my office, my employees have asked me repeatedly, what's going to happen? What's going to happen after the election? And I've told them, if I'm successful, your jobs are safe. They have been some of the best workers you can possibly imagine. I cannot compliment my staff enough. I have a wonderful group of assistant prosecutors that work for me. I have a wonderful staff that does everything that you could ask for them in the office. They take their jobs very seriously. They are dedicated to the county. I thank them for everything that they possibly do. So whenever I say that I will be there for you for the next 4 years, I will do anything I can to help you, regardless of whether you're with me or not. I mean it. Thank you.
After this election, I'm going to focus on the work and being an excellent prosecutor for this county. I'm going to enhance communication with the law enforcement, with the public. I'm going to educate the community and rebuild trust with the community. I plan on implementing transition plans as much as possible, meet with county officers and have policies in place to be prepared to go into office and try cases in 2019 and keep this community safe. So I'm prepared to train and mentor the new attorneys, just like I did when I taught at St. Louis University and at Emory University. I left that out before, didn't I? I didn't make it to that. But back when I was in the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office, I had the opportunity to teach at St. Louis University and at Emory University. And what I taught were trial skills to the law students wanting to be attorneys. And I want to take that training and train the new attorneys in the office now. I think there's 2 of them that are about a year. So that is what I intend to do as well. And I intend to sit down with all of the members of the prosecutor attorney's office that work there now, talk to them about what their job is, what they're doing, and if they do a good job, to move forward. So there's obviously no plans regarding any changes to staff, and we're going to sit down and work it out and have a transition plan in place and go into 2019 ready to jump into the water and get wet trying cases.
All right, thank you. We'll continue in just a couple minutes, moving through the other candidates and offices that are being decided November 6th, and then we'll be back to complete this portion of the political debate. But we are doing okay on time, so we'll take about a 5-minute recess here that you can stand and stretch.
Right now, we've got a 5-minute break.
also want to thank Black Knight TV for being here tonight, broadcasting. Wendy Southern and her group of students and adult helpers for broadcasting tonight. As I said, we have quite a few viewers that are watching online. We'll also be sharing that video. Link will be available through Daily Journal Online, through the website from this point forward. And as we do political stories between now and the election and after the election, we will link this video of this evening's events to that as well. But anyhow, again, thank you to Wendy Southern and everybody at Black Knight TV for broadcasting this evening. The next office we're going to hear from, Missouri 24th Judicial Circuit, Division II Judge Wendy Wexler Horn. And she's running unopposed, and she still turned out tonight to address us. So.
I didn't see it first. All right. First of all, thank you so much to the Daily Journal for hosting this forum for all of us. And thank you for everybody who has attended here tonight. There are a lot of people here. The turnout has been very, very good. And it is absolutely wonderful to see so many people who have taken an interest in our local issues to come out and meet all of us for our upcoming election. I am unopposed, so I'm going to try not to take too much of your time because there are many other candidates who are here tonight who really needs to be heard, who you want to hear from. So for those of you who don't know me, I will spend just a minute to introduce myself and give you a little bit about my background. I am Wendy Horn. I have been a practicing attorney in this area for the last 25 years. I started out as an assistant public defender. From there, I went into a private practice of law for about 5 years, where I did many aspects of legal work. I represented people in their divorce cases and their adoptions, protection orders, all kinds of different things. After that, I was appointed St. Francis County prosecuting attorney. I held that position for just about 11 years. I tried a whole bunch of criminal cases. I got a lot of very good experience in the courtroom. After that, I was appointed the Associate Circuit Judge Division III position upon the retirement of Judge Thomas Ray. I held that position for about 3 years as an associate judge, where I heard divorce cases, associate level criminal cases, protection orders, a number of different things. At the end of 2014, the Honorable Kenneth Pratt retired, and I was appointed by Governor Nixon to replace him in the beginning part of 2015. And I have been your Circuit Court Judge Division II ever since then. I'm actually your presiding Circuit Court Judge for the 24th Judicial Circuit. And in my division, which is extremely busy, we take on a number of different cases. I hear many circuit level criminal cases. I hear complex civil cases as well as juvenile cases. So we are very busy. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but let me just say I absolutely love what I do, and I'm running for re-election because I love my job, and it is my hope that all of you will keep me in office until the day that I retire. So I will appreciate your vote on November 6th. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next on the ballot will be Associate Circuit Judge Division III, which is held by incumbent Joseph L. Goff Jr., who's running unopposed. Mr. Goff is traveling back from a previous engagement and is unable to attend this evening. The next race we'll focus on is Associate Circuit Judge Division IV, incumbent Sean McCarver will address us.
Thanks for being here tonight. All of you, I hope you set your recorders. You're missing NCIS, which is the most popular show on television. Right? I was born in Bonne Terre in 1960. I'm 58 years old. I lived for a little while in Deloge, then grew up, spent time growing up in Flat River, now called Park Hills. I graduated from Central R3 in 1978, went off to Central Missouri State University, where I got a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice Administration with a minor in Finance. I did that 4-year degree in 3 years. I got into law school again and completed law school at University of Missouri Columbia in 1984. I came back home, opened a practice, practiced for almost 27 years before taking the bench as your probate and associate circuit judge 8 years ago. Now, a little bit about my law history. During the course of my practice, I represented all sorts of litigants in all sorts of cases. I actually filed divorces and defended divorces and custody cases. I did adoptions. I did criminal, personal injury, social security, disability, workers' compensation cases. I did probate cases all those years. Probate cases, for those of you who don't know, are cases where you help people who either living estates or people who have become incompetent, they can't manage themselves or their property. That's called guardianships or conservatorships, or litigation involving wills, trusts, estates, and the passing of the property of a deceased person from the deceased person to the heirs, if that has to go through court. Okay? I did all those kinds of cases. I also served a year as a public defender. I served almost 20 years as the prosecuting attorney for the juvenile court system under Judge Murphy, and then a little bit under Judge Sandy Martinez. So I have a wide range of experience. Those areas are the same areas that the Division IV court handles. So when Judge Kelly retired, my predecessor, I decided to run for office. I've been in there now 2 terms. I'm seeking a 3rd term. My record speaks for itself. I will tell you that before taking office as a full-time judge 8 years ago, I was also the municipal judge for 5 of the cities here in this county: Park Hills, Deloge, Bonne Terre, Bismarck, and Leadwood. And so it gives me a total right now of 33 years of judicial experience. I've been a judge now for 33 of the 34 years that I've been a lawyer. And I'm very proud of the fact that in that time I've never had a judicial decision of mine overturned by a higher court. So my record speaks for itself. I'm asking for your support and your vote in my bid for re-election. Thank you very much.
Mr. McCarty is being joined by Patrick King, Attorney Patrick King, Republican candidate.
Good evening, I'm Pat King. I'm running for Associate Circuit Judge Division 4. I've been a practicing attorney for over 30 years. I've tried about every kind of case in every kind of courtroom. I've had the lives and fortunes of people in my hands as a private lawyer, and I've also spent a good deal of my career in public service. I spent 28 years as a trial prosecutor. I spent now almost 20 years as your Chief Assistant Prosecuting Attorney here in St. Francis County, working for 3 different prosecutors. Let me say it to you this way. The reason I seek this office is because a goodly number of people from across St. Francis County who have a stake in this court and the way it runs approached me about running for office. And they did so because they believe that I have those qualities, which are honesty, integrity, hard work, and common sense. I've proven myself to the people of this county. I've proven that I will do the work that it requires. I'll do what it takes. I'll come early, I'll stay late, and I'll make sure the job is done. And when folks saw that from around, across the board of the various stakeholders in the probate court system, whether that be clerks, attorneys, folks in the juvenile court system, folks in the mental health advocates, all of them across the board said, you're the person that we'd like to take on this very important job. This is a public trust, and I intend to treat it as a public trust.
It doesn't belong to anyone, it belongs to you, the people. And it would be my great honor and privilege to serve you. In addition to the work that I've talked about, I've also spent my life here doing things that touch each of you in community service. As a matter of fact, I was pleased that the Daily Journal Farmington Press a few years ago recognized me as Citizen of the Year in Farmington. That was a tremendous honor, one of the greatest nights of my life. I appreciate that honor very much. I've received other honors for my work. But the important thing is this: you have to be able to believe, you have to be able to trust and have that trust in the person that you put in that position. And I've proven myself to you over the years, and I would certainly appreciate your support. Thank you. Thank you. The next topic we'll focus on is presiding commissioner of St. Francis County. Speaking first will be Harold Gallagher, incumbent in that office.
Thank you for attending, and thank you to the Daily Journal staff for holding this event. When I came to office, I learned immediately we had 2 buildings that were about to fail or be lost to county use. I had to enter 2 emergency building programs at the same time with no planning and little budget to do them. We solved those problems, along with about 20 other major situations. Some of these other projects include building security, revamped payroll system, job scale and pay grade system. We created an IT department. We installed a computerized fuel dispensing system. We created and built a morgue. We installed standby power generation systems. We invested in better equipment for increased efficiency. We increased our office space by over 50%. We have developed a multi-million-dollar fund to carry us through an emergency, all while paying down long-term debt. We've also gotten several grants. Lots been said about the drug court. We're moving them to a bigger, better facility, and at the same time reducing congestion in the courthouse. Our policy book was 23 years out of date when I came into office. We began by collecting the tried and proven policies of other first-class counties in Missouri. We set up our own committee of both male and female office holders, and they spent over a year in regular weekly meetings going over every word of those policies. Then their work was reviewed by an attorney specialized in Missouri county law. We now have an excellent policy that will be reviewed and updated regularly. For the first time, we have a degree and experienced engineer on staff at no extra charge. I earned my engineering degree in Raleigh and then worked in various industries, gaining decades of experience, a lot of decades. This knowledge is immensely helpful in our preliminary discussions in equipment purchase, efficiency, utility planning, and so many other aspects. This has saved the county both time and money. Now, just 3 years later, our county is in the best condition it has ever been. Buildings, finances, business systems are all in excellent condition, and this is provable fact. So good, in fact, that we have won both statewide and nationwide awards for our excellence in leadership. These past 3 years have been a wonderful and exciting journey toward the excellence that we're heading for. Please vote for me, Harold Gallagher, and we will continue on that road. Thank you.
Also seeking the office of presiding commissioner is Linda Dickerson Bell.
That's the first time I wanted to get out of that seat, but it's because my legs were folded all underneath it, so, all right. My name is Linda Dickerson Bell, and I am running for presiding commissioner. I'm 46 years old, and I was born and raised in Flat River, Missouri, now known as Park Hills. I'm a 1990 graduate of Central High School. I attended Unitech Career Center as well as Mineral Area College. I'm married to Kevin Bell. Together we have one daughter who's a registered dental hygienist, and we live just outside of Bonne Terre where we enjoy living in the country. I served 18 years on the Park Hills City Council. I chaired the Personnel Committee, the Budget Committee, the Public Safety Committee, Public Works Committee, Senior Citizens Association, the Parks Committee, as well as the Utility Rates Committee. I have set tax rates, organized bond issues, worked closely with Street Superintendent to ensure that roads and bridges were maintained at a cost-effective and safe manner. I served as Mayor Pro Tem of the Council for most of my 18 years. I served on the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Community Betterment Organization, and many other boards and organizations over the years. I have served as a board member and treasurer for the Park Hills Laddington Chamber of Commerce for the last 18 years. All of my service is done in an effort to make our community a better place to live and raise a family. The past 10 years, I have worked as the executive director for Habitat for Humanity. Prior to that, I worked 18 years for East Missouri Action Agency, also building homes for families who qualified based on their income. Between my work with EMA and Habitat, I've worked again for the last 20 years as a home builder. I'm a grant writer, and many other things that I can accomplish. In 2014, I was awarded the KFMO Sweat Equity Award by Kelly Valley, and in 2018, the KTJJ 110% Award by Chad Speaker for my work within the county. Just last week, I was awarded the Hometown Hero Award from the Farmington School Administration for my work with their students in teaching building trades and the importance of volunteering. I've dedicated my life as well as my career to public service, and I'm ready to take my expertise as well as my passion and serve you from the county courthouse. I have a great deal of knowledge in local government, budgeting, as well as employee management. I saw a need in the county, and when I see something that needs to be fixed, I fix it. I am not a politician, I'm a public servant, and I ask for your vote on November the 6th.
The next topic we'll be focusing on is County Clerk with the announced retirement of County Clerk Mark Edrick. There is no incumbent seeking re-election, therefore a coin toss was done earlier this evening. Kevin Engler won that coin toss, but opted to allow Andrew Young to address us first this evening. And so we welcome to the stage Democrat candidate Andrew Young.
Good evening. As mentioned, my name is Andrew Young, and I am a candidate running for County Clerk. One of the biggest duties of County Clerk is to oversee elections, such as registering voters, increasing voter turnouts, and providing knowledge for the voters. So it makes me happy to be here tonight to see this many people who are wanting to learn about the candidates, who are wanting to get to know more about who they will be voting for, to be informed voters. Informed voters is the most powerful resource to affect change. So I believe the applause belongs to all of you for being here tonight. And so I thank you all for taking time to be here to meet the candidates this evening. Thank you. A bit of background about myself. I was born and raised in Deloge, moved to Bonne Terre, graduated from North County High School, went on to Menlo Area College, graduated with Associate of Arts, and then I just graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Webster University. And while attending Webster, I had the opportunity to serve as an intern at the Capitol in Jefferson City, where I worked for Representative Doug Beck. And that was an amazing educational opportunity. Plus, there was free food, so that was good. My journey for running for county clerk began as a way to pay back the many citizens of St. Francis County that were in constant support of me and my family after I was in a near-fatal car accident in 2010 at the age of 16. For those of you who do not know, it was May 21st, which was a Friday, just 5 days before the end of my school year. Just north of Bonne Terre on Highway 67, there was an at-grade crossing of Hedge Apple, and I was driving to school that morning. And whenever I went to cross the 2 northbound lanes of highway traffic, I accidentally pulled out in front of a semi. And the semi T-boned my driver's side door going 70 miles an hour. The kindness and generosity of so many made the horrific experience much, much more bearable. There are many duties and responsibilities of the county clerk. All are important, but none more so than the election process from start to finish. The ease of the registration process, educating the younger generation on the importance of their vote, along with keeping the elections in St. Francis County safe and fair. No voter suppression, no interference. and of course, election day duties. Along with recruiting, training, and retaining, I look forward to working with the vast number of poll workers that offer this county so much. Remember, the election is just 2 weeks away from now. There are 7 initiatives on the ballot. Please follow me on Facebook at Andrew Young for St. Francis County Clerk as I present unbiased information on each of those. So please, on November 6th, vote Young for County Clerk.
Yeah. Thank you. Now we welcome Kevin Engler, Republican candidate for County Clerk.
Good evening. Welcome. Thanks for everybody that showed up. Thanks for the Daily Journal that sponsored this. I apologize for those of you that have come to one of the 4 forums that we've had in the last few weeks. My story doesn't change. It's the same. I was born in Festus. Went to high school there and graduated. Went to Southwest Missouri State on a baseball scholarship. Got a degree in marketing and general business. We moved here 32 years ago last week. My wife, Chris, we had 4 children. I have 6 grandchildren. I worked for Edward Jones, and I will retire from them in December after 32 years here. And that gave me the opportunity to do public service over the years. We started off in things like heading up the JCs and the Lions Club, the Chamber of Commerce. I worked for them, running the country days for a couple of years as a volunteer until I was elected president of the Chamber. And we did a lot of activities, tried to make this town grow. Then, when I retired from there, I was President Pro Tem, past president, I said that I was going to work on a campaign to build a civic center. I thought it would be something that would move us forward. We worked hard and got it done. A lot of people worked on that. We worked on a lot of campaigns for things and got things done. Over the years, after that, I became city council, then mayor, was elected twice mayor. We doubled our sales tax in 6 years without raising our rates. We went out and got people. We were experiencing some losses in Builtwell and Huffy, and we went out and got companies like Centene and SNR Product to come to town. We've worked hard and accomplished a lot. From there, I went to the House. Then I went to the Senate for 8 years, was turned out there, went back to the House. Had a lot of success in Jefferson City, where, according to the Jefferson City paper, I passed more pieces of legislation in the past 16 years than anyone else. We got a lot of things done working together with Democrats and Republicans. Given the opportunity, I will work hard at this job and get things done. It is a complicated job. It does all the human resources for the county. Things like figuring comp time. It sets the tax rate. It balances the taxes after the Board of Equalization. There's a lot of tough things. I have managed people. This job manages 170 people. I have set tax rates. I've managed millions of dollars on a daily basis and hundreds of millions in the state level. I think I have the ability to get it done. I appreciate everybody that's helped me. I appreciate the people that endorsed. I'm going to throw a shout out to Steve Beckley and Charlotte Boyer, Dee Reynolds, who've been helping me all along, and all the people in the community that's helped. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next office we'll focus on, running unopposed for circuit clerk, is Vicki Weidel.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Weidel, and I have been your circuit clerk for the past 12 years. For those of you who don't know what we do there, we are the administrative support for the courts. We work closely with the judges and lawyers and prosecutors. I don't want to take up your time. I'm running unopposed, but I'd still appreciate the check mark by my name. Wait, one thing. I do want to say, because I have a couple of staff members here, I think we have an amazing office. We're state paid. We aren't county paid. So our pay comes out of the state budget. But I have an amazing staff, and I don't use that word lightly. I always like to say how good they make us look at the courthouse because they work really hard, and I'm so proud of them. I would put them up as the best in the state. They serve this county so well, and I'm so proud of our office. But I still would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. In the next office is Recorder of Deeds, incumbent Steve Grider.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I am Steve Grider. I'm a Recorder of Deeds, and this is a job that I love to do. When people come in, we're there to serve you, and to be able to do that, I love to be able to help people do things. A lot of times they don't always know where they need to go in the courthouse. I invite everybody to come in. If you don't know where to go, I'm more than glad to take you to the office or give you directions to where you need to go in the courthouse. That's part of our job too. I am the Recorder of Deeds. We do record your deeds, easements, things like that, deed to trust. That's our responsibility to do. But to help people, that's what we're there for. To give you a little bit about my background, I grew up in Bismarck. I'm a graduate of Bismarck High School. I attended Mineral College, and when I went to college and high school, I grew up on a dairy farm. That's something that taught me work ethic. You know, you didn't stop at 5 o'clock. You didn't stop working until the job was done. That's something that I believe in. If you have something to do, you need to finish the job. And that's what it's all about. After graduating from Mineral College, I went to work for GRW Engineers, which I helped draw the reassessment maps for St. Francis County, which we still use now. They've improved them a lot from what we had to begin with, but that gave me the interest to be able to do it. Then I went to work for a title company, which gave me the research techniques to be able to look up people's property, to make sure that they had clear title in order to be able to sell the property. That's one of the most important things that we do as the recorder to make sure your records are well maintained. You can't buy, you can't sell, you can't do anything with your property if we don't maintain good records. That's one of the most important things that we can do. In the office, we've tried to modernize it. We have one of the better recording systems in the state of Missouri, and I'm proud of that because I've worked with them since 2005. We've updated, we've digitized 1,500 plats. We're digitizing the old deed book. And also, we will put in a system where you can look online. We have to where you can pay with a credit, debit card. We put all these things into place. We have property fraud alert to where if you have someone that you're taking care of that someone may try to take advantage of, you can be alerted of something that's going on funny with those deeds. That's something that I'm very proud to be able to do. We have the honors reward for veterans. If a veteran wants to come in, we can get them a card, and then the businesses have been good enough to step up where we get a discount for those veterans. You know, I think that's some way that we can get back to the veterans and say thank you for helping. Plus, we're helping the local businesses keep the business here to be able to help the taxpayers in this county. That's something I want to continue to do for you all, to work, to try to get things better for everybody in this county. We're working with grants, getting the old books digitized. It's pretty neat. I wish people could come in and see what we've done and what it looked like with the old books compared to what it looks like. I am Steve Grider, and I ask for your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Mr. Grider is being opposed by Jay Graff, the Republican candidate. I haven't seen Mr. Graff here this evening. So we'll continue on. Collector of Revenue, Pamela Williams, is running for that office. Running unopposed, by the way. And also for County Auditor, running unopposed, is Louis Cyberville. He's here this evening.
All right, camera dudes, wake up because I'm coming out here. I appreciate you folks being here. We've done a number of community forums around the county. I think one forum we attended, there were 7 people there on a Saturday afternoon, but there's a lot of things going on in the parkland, and that's what we like about growing up in this area. We like the fact that we can go here, there, you'll run into somebody you know,
You'll find somebody that'll disagree with you, but before it's all said and done, what's nice about this area is people take a little time to talk to each other. I applaud these people in the front row that are wanting to make a difference in the county and in the state. This has been a very, very difficult election time for them. I remember somebody telling me, those that can do, those that can't go on social media. What are you laughing about, Dale? No. I've been your county auditor for 18 months. I was not elected to the position. I interviewed for the position. The governor appointed me to that position, and it has been a learning experience to say the least. We have some of the finest county office holders working in the state. Plus we have over 170, I think 180 county employees that come to work every morning, stay right there, answer, smiles sometimes all the way through it, and says, we've got to do what's right for the people. That cannot be taken away from this county. I want to point out, if you look at your program where my name is, I'm listed as a Democrat. I'm not jumping parties. I was born a Democrat, but I was baptized Republican. So now I'm a Republicrat. Okay? So all you people can vote for me. I'm unopposed. I want to tell you briefly that the courthouse does the judicial side. The annex does primarily the financial side of your business as a taxpayer. I'm on the third floor with County Treasurer Carrie Bloor, with County Clerk Mark Hedrick, with the County Commissioners. You come all the way up to the top of the courthouse annex, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 o'clock. Walk into any door, and we will be happy to talk with you, show you anything that you are curious about. We invite you to stop by. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we're ready for the second half of our debate. If I could ask Mrs. Gilliam and Mr. McGearon to come back up to the podiums, we'll continue with the remaining 4 questions. These questions were posed by audience members as you came in this evening. Who's up first to answer? You remember? No? All right. With the first question, with the increased awareness of mental health issues, how do you plan to address these as far as culpabilities and criminal charges?
So it's the increased awareness. Okay, that was better. Sorry. With the increased awareness into mental health, obviously, the issues when it comes to mental health determinations, that's not something that goes into a charging decision. When you're looking at whether or not you're going to charge a case, you look at the elements of each crime, you look at the actions of each person. And then on the back end is when the issue arises on whether there was a mental health issue. That comes in when we're talking about not guilty by reason of insanity or diminished capacity. But as I spoke earlier, there are other mental health issues, and that can be drug addiction. So that's something that needs to be looked at as well. Is there alternative ways to handle cases that would involve treatment with probation or treatment in the Missouri Department of Corrections? There's actually 2 types of treatment that one can receive in the Missouri Department of Corrections for drug addiction. One is through the 559.115 program. That lasts about 180 days. And the second one is through the 217 program that lasts anywhere between a year and a half. So So there are issues that face the criminal justice system, and addiction is one of them. There are also ways to go out and obtain grants through the mental health system to address and try to get to the source of the problems before these people reach the criminal justice system. So if we demonstrate a need, and I think we have one with the opioid epidemic we have here, we can go out and obtain these grant monies to have treatment programs for people before they even are involved in the crimes that bring us to our doorstep at the courthouse.
One of the things that we talk about when we're dealing with mental health issues in the criminal justice system is obviously, like my opponent said, culpability. So there are times where defendants come before us with cases, and it can be, varying degrees of severity. Right now, I actually have a case pending in my office. It's a murder in the first-degree case. And the unfortunate side of that is that the person that was the defendant in that case, under Section 552, is deemed incompetent to proceed. So that is an issue where, obviously, I sit down with the family, I explain to them the two possibilities of what we deal with the criminal justice system and mental health. It's not something that comes up all the time, but it is something that comes up, and it is important every time it does. Whenever you deal with these 552 cases, you look at them and you say, okay, do you have a culpability of the crime when you committed it, or can you stand trial now? Unfortunately, in this case, this person did not understand what they were doing during the time, even though they understand what's going on now. The case that I'm dealing with, the family, the victim's family, they understand. And again, that's something that I've talked about for several times up here, is that you have to work with the victim's families, you have to explain to them. They don't understand why somebody may be going up in front of a trial and not having to answer for what they've done. So when we have these cases, we deal with the mental health issues, we have to address that and acknowledge that there are these things that are going on. I know that there are, I think it's South American countries that have actually deemed opioid use as a mental health disorder. We haven't done that in the United States. I'm not sure that it's a mental health disorder. It's obviously a conscious decision to use these drugs, and it is an addiction. The problem that we have, though, is that's not something that really falls under the statutes for us, so we have to delve out and see what other availabilities we have. If we treat it like a mental health addiction, or excuse me, a mental health disorder, then we're going to have to start putting a lot of people in different programs that we don't have the availability for, nor do we have the money to fund. We have to look at other treatments for these people. Again, treating them with mental health disorders under the statutes and what the Department of Corrections allows us to do. There are a lot of availabilities, a lot of answers out there. First thing we have to do is address it, and I think we do a pretty good job here in St. Francis County of making sure that we take care of these people's problems. Thank you.
Obviously, the drug issue, drug problem is a major issue here and elsewhere across the country. This question from the audience is, will you press for stiffer penalties for repeat offenders in drug trafficking?
Yes, excellent question. I have made a policy almost of how I prosecute these people. What I have said repeatedly in the times that I've spoken is people prey on addictions. You have to look at the people that are causing the problems. We can't tell physicians not to write prescriptions. We can't tell doctors not to, take care of their patients. What we have to do is look at the pill pushers, the people that are pushing these opioids out into the public. So when we have repeat offenders, there are statutes that allow us to charge them as prior persistent offenders or prior persistent drug offenders. Each of those things ratchets up the level of culpability that they're looking at, the amount of prison time they're looking at. The thing is, when you deal with these people that are abusing the system and abusing their neighbors, their families, by preying on their addictions, that's where the problem is. And that's where the problem has to stop. We have to have stiffer penalties, we have to have stiffer punishment, and there has to be consequences for the people that are preying on these people out in the communities. Unfortunately, we can't look at drug court. We can't look at all these other availabilities for the people that are continuing to abuse families and continuing to abuse the system. So while there are certainly availabilities for people that are first-time offenders and young, and it's their first time in the system, the repeat offenders, the people that are trafficking these drugs, the people that are pushing all of these big problems into our county have to be dealt with. I have been doing that successfully, and I'm going to continue to do it successfully and make people answer for what it is where they're preying on these people. Thank you.
Yes, obviously, repeat offenders who are drug trafficking in St. Francis County need to face stiff penalties. There's no question about that whatsoever, because without those individuals here in the county peddling their drugs, we wouldn't have all these people addicted to drugs. So in order to get them out of this county, we have to remove them with the stiff punishment of prison. There's also the issue that wherever these drug traffickers go, crime goes too. They're the crime drivers of the county. So they, surrounding them are all of the crimes that occur, the stealings, the thefts, the burglaries, because around them are the individuals who are coming to their house in order to procure drugs. That happens on several levels involving drugs. So it's an easy answer, absolutely. We need to have stiff punishment for anyone who is trafficking drugs, whether it be heroin, methamphetamine, anything that is a controlled substance, pill pushers, anything. Yes, there absolutely needs to be stiff punishments for any offenders, and especially repeat offenders.
Next question, in your opinion, what is the most important aspect of the office of the prosecuting attorney of St. Francis County?
The most important aspect of the office of St. Francis County should be honesty, integrity, and professionalism. And I have all three of those qualities, and I will bring the change that St. Francis County needs. Earlier there was a discussion, Mr. O'Meara he was talking about his conviction rate, and greater than 97%. Now, let's talk about that, because if there are 100 jury trials in St. Francis County, you can only lose 3 to keep 97%. So anything less than that would be less than 90%. That's a hard thing to keep up with. That's something that is unattainable year in and year out. On top of that, and I'm not going to read the person who quoted it, Julie Reynolds is who I'm reading the quote from, but let's talk more importantly. That the success of a prosecutor's office is a function of how well a prosecutor furthers the cause of justice, a goal not necessarily synonymous with a high conviction rate. Prosecutors must be sensitive to the needs of the community they represent, consider independently the facts of each situation before deciding to pursue a case at all. This judgment and appropriate use of prosecutorial discretion characterizes a truly successful prosecutor. And that judgment, along with the honesty, integrity, and professionalism, is what is so very important to St. Francis County's prosecuting attorney's office.
The question again, in your opinion, what's the most important aspect of the office of the prosecuting attorney of St. Francis County?
Thank you. Most important aspect is care. You have to care about the people that you are helping. You have to care about the people that you're serving. Whenever victims come in, they're standing there in front of you a lot of times in the worst position they've ever been in their lives. They come before you broken, hurt, and looking for help. Care is what can provide and fix these problems. I care about every single case that comes in front of me, whether it be a misdemeanor, a felony, could be a murder case, could be something as minute as a minor possession where it's a young person their first time in the system. You have to look at both sides of the issue. The thing is, when you care about a case, you put yourself into it. A lot of times prosecutors refer to, and attorneys refer to as marrying a case. That happens a lot with me because I care deeply about each person that comes in. I've had thousands and thousands of cases in my career. I'm going to have thousands more. While I'm dealing with each case, I care about your case first and foremost, because that's your one case. I have thousands. But while I'm dealing with you, I have to care about you, and I do. I make sure that I put 110% of everything I have into making sure that your case is fixed to the best of your satisfaction if I can. I will do everything in my power to see the case resolved the way you want it to. A lot of times I tell people, this is your ship to steer, I'm just keeping it in the water. So caring is the most important quality with the prosecutor's office, because you have to help victims, you have to help people that come in front of you, and you have to make sure that everything you do is serving St. Francis County. Thank you.
Yeah. And now for the final question, besides prosecutorial, I'm trying to read this as written, work, what prior experience has prepared you to be the best candidate to fill the office of prosecuting attorney?
Thank you. I would say that obviously the fact that I had a private practice for a while is one of the things that really made me a better prosecutor. And the reason behind that is because as a prosecutor, as it was discussed earlier, I have to advise county officials routinely. I get calls not just from the commission, but other county office holders. They ask me for advice, they ask me for counsel, and the fact is I have that experience. I have the ability to talk to these people about whatever issue they're facing. If I had only practiced criminal law my whole life, I may be not able to give them all the answers that they need. Luckily I have, so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect, and it's just as important, is that I was an assistant prosecutor for 3+ years in this county before I became the prosecutor. Why is that so important? Because I learned the system here. I don't know the systems in Jefferson County or St. Louis or elsewhere around the state. I didn't practice there. What I know is how St. Francis County works. I know St. Francis County values. I know the people here. So whenever I take those experiences and put them into my everyday life and everyday use as a prosecutor, it gives me a better perspective on what's needed in this county, how to help with the office, how to advise people, and move forward with these cases. Again, insights from being an assistant, being a prosecutor for this long. I know what it takes on a daily basis to run this office. I have a balanced budget and I beat it every single year. I know what it takes to work within the confines of the law. Again, as I said earlier, the way that I prosecuted, the convictions that I have, the seriousness of the cases, makes me the candidate that you need in St. Francis County, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
I worked with the best prosecutors in the state of Missouri for 15 years. I worked with an office full of managers, an office full of just really great attorneys, and I had the benefit of their expertise and advice. I left that office because I moved to St. Francis County, and for 2 years drove up there, and I realized I loved living here in this county more than I did working for them in downtown St. Louis. But I never forgot the love that I had being a prosecutor. So I did start, I worked for a firm here in town, and I started my own firm in 2017. During both of those experiences, I defended people in criminal cases. And I gotta be honest with you, in 17 years, it was the first time I had ever done that. I'd ever been on the other side of the aisle, because for 17 years I've been a prosecutor. And I've had the opportunity to see what it's like on the other side of the aisle. And it was eye-opening. And, you know, in some circumstances, people take responsibility for their actions. In others, not so much. And it's given me the opportunity to have an insight into both sides. I've had the insight to see what it's like to charge decisions and wonder what the defense would argue. And then I've had the benefit of having the insight to defend a case and know what I would do as far as the prosecution goes and what arguments I'm going to make as a defense attorney. In starting my own law practice, I had the opportunity to implement, and well, first I had to write, and then I had to implement a business plan on how I was going to go about doing it. I had the opportunity to utilize technologies in running my law firm to make it easier because I'm a one-person show. I don't have a receptionist, I don't have a secretary. Well, I do have a virtual receptionist, but if you call my office, they're in Tennessee. So they'll take a message, but that's about it. So I had to do that all on my own, and I learned time management techniques and everything that goes along with it. Most importantly, I learned from the best prosecutors that I worked with for 15 years in the city. I had the opportunity to manage some excellent trial attorneys when I was there. I was trial coach for several of them, which meant I got to go into the courtroom and teach them how to try cases while they were doing it, in front of a jury and everything. So those are some of my experiences that will make me a good elected St. Francis County prosecutor.
Thank you for answering questions this evening. We'll now have 3 minutes for closing remarks, and Mrs. Gilliam will go first.
Thank you. So I think you've heard it all. We've had 9 questions tonight, and you've heard a lot about us. But most importantly, as I said earlier, I'm a candidate I'm honest, I have integrity, I have professionalism, and I have the experience to give St. Francis County the change that they want in this office. There's so many ideas. I don't have enough time to tell you all the ideas that I have for all of the changes for the office. And I've spoken generally about them with the increase to have updates with technology, increased communication with the officers. And I disagree with Louis just on the point of social media can be useful if you're educating the community regarding the criminal justice system. Maybe even holding seminars where people can come and learn more about it. So I do look forward to it. I ask everyone here, at home, anywhere else to vote for me on November 7th.
Well, let me again say thank you for being here. It takes a little time out of your evening to come and meet your candidates. If you were at the forum the other night, you heard me tell a story that I'm going to tell again, but I think it's important for you all to hear exactly the type of prosecutor that I've been. Child sex cases is one of the toughest things that any prosecutor can deal with, mainly because of the ins and outs of the cases. You have trouble with the testimony of a child, and you have to process these cases with care and delicate hands because it's a child victim you're putting out there. So the case I want to tell you about happened several years ago after I became prosecutor. It was a very difficult case. Evidence kind of crumbled around. Had a victim had a tough time speaking. I get a tough time speaking whenever I think about this case, but it was a 4-year-old girl who had unfortunately been molested by her father. And the case came in, like I said, the case kind of crumbled. I stayed with it. I worked. I stayed late nights. I stayed up at night. I lost sleep. I wanted to make sure that justice was sought for this little girl. I did everything that I possibly could, researched cases, talked to experts, did everything. We went through with the jury trial. Difficult. Tough to put this little girl on the stand, have to watch her relive what she did. But it was right because it was justice and I was seeking it for her. I didn't know whether I was going to win or not. But I'll tell you this, at the end of it, I was successful. And again, the individual who did this, unfortunately, was her father. The little girl ran up to me at the culmination of this case and hugged me around the waist and said, "Thank you for saving me." If I did nothing else as a prosecutor, I would have been successful for that case alone. But let me tell you this, that's how I treat every single case that I prosecute. I will continue to treat every single case, regardless of your beliefs about me, even if you're not supporting of me tonight. That's okay. If you have a case that comes before me, I will treat your case with the dedication and care that you deserve from the prosecutor of this county. Thank you.
Again, we want to thank both prosecutors and candidates, all the candidates that turned out tonight. For everyone in the audience, thank you for giving up your time, attending this evening. Thanks to Black Knight TV for broadcasting this, also to the Farmington School District for providing the facility this evening. Thank you to all the candidates, great candidates, for giving up your time this evening and for your interest in serving us, the voters and constituents in upcoming years. To all of us, remember to exercise your right and vote on November 6th. Drive safe. Thank you for being here.